There's a revolution because now everybody are talking about IaaS, infrastructure as a service. You know, your GCP, your Azure, your AWS, and they're trying to put all their data there in their production. But then you have this step brother or sister, which is called SaaS, and people are taking it a little bit easy, I would say. And I think as the time moves forward, I think they are more and more concerned about what's happening in the SaaS environment. And think about the scale that is happening in SaaS. How many events are being generated every single second from an organization that has tens of thousands of employees across multiple SaaS applications, various offices across the globe. Take all of that, digest it, react to that. That's a big, big challenge.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Devico Breakfast Bar. Here we speak with different people involved in the business landscape, share their expertise, delve into the latest tech trends, and explore the ins and outs of IT outsourcing. I'm Oleg Sadikov, and today I'm excited to have Omri Weinberg, co-founder and CEO at DoControl. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss new episodes. Hi Omri, and thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. Hi Oleg, thanks for having me.
Let's start our podcast with a little blitz. I start a sentence and you continue.
Let's do it.
Entrepreneurship gave me
a lot of good perspective in life.
Entrepreneurship deprived me.
Sleeping.
My main superpower is
Stay calm.
My main weakness is
overexcited sometimes.
When I'm afraid I'm
going to lose a deal.
Can you share the story behind co-founding DoControl? What problems were you trying to solve?
So basically, the main idea started when I was working for a different company that acquired my previous startup. And I saw how easy it is to share proprietary information from your Google environment, from your Google workspace. Same thing for Microsoft, from SharePoint and other SaaS applications. And it struck me that it's so easy to share data that easily. And no one has the good governance or guardrails around it. And back in the days, my partner Adam, who was working for Google DLP in New York, he was facing with the exact same problems, and he was worried about that. And then we teamed up together, and in the late of 2020s, we started to this ideation around DoControl, and we raised money, and here we are today.
The market for SaaS security is really competitive and always changing. What were some of the earliest changes you faced when positioning DoControl in this space?
SaaS security is like a very broad term that everybody is quite familiar with, but they don't know exactly what are the differences between different companies that are out there. Because when companies or people from the industry ask me, who are your competitors? Who can take a deal from you? So it's very broad because sometimes different companies are trying to achieve different outcomes. And it's not one size fits all. You have smaller companies with a few hundreds of employees, and you have bigger companies with thousands or tens of thousands of employees. And in each company, you also have different type of platforms or SaaS applications that they want to protect. So it's very different, and it's interesting enough that we see that there's a lot of other companies out there that are saying what DoControl can offer, but in reality it's not even the same. But marketing, the page takes it all basically, and you can say whatever you want. And there are some other companies, great companies that are out there that are doing some things that we do, but from a different angle. And it really depends on what the prospect or the end customer, which is our security team that we are selling to, they are trying to achieve. Our main bread and butter thing that we deal the most is around the data aspect. Who has access to your data? How do you manipulate their data? How they're sharing their data? And we have a very robust way to give visibility around that and also remediation capabilities. So basically no one will have access to things that they don't need to have, and nothing will remain overexposed over time. So that's our main theme around DoControl. Although we have many other areas within the product that can give much broader solution, but it all falls under your data in SaaS.
DoControl protects billions of SaaS assets. What's one security risk or SaaS vulnerability that you think most companies are still underestimating today?
Great question. So there are so many things that we check and we look at every single day. The main promise, and as I mentioned, data is the main theme of DoControl, is always making sure that people has the right access to the exact data that they need. Let's say I'm a finance guy working in a company. You don't want me to share my P&L or revenue projection publicly to the world that anybody can grab. Or if it gets into the wrong side of hands, that's not good, right? So we are able to monitor that. But on the other hand, other things that we see is like impossible travel. Let's say, Oleg, you're logging in right now to your SaaS and your data from a certain location, but then we noticed after a second that you also logged in from Brazil. You cannot travel from Cyprus all the way to Brazil right in a matter of a minute. So there is some kind of an account takeover attempt. So we're also looking at that. Let's say all the misconfiguration that are happening in SaaS application. If you don't configure the right MFA in place or two-factor authentication, or you have a weak password, we can also identify those. And all of those things that I've just said, it's not just in theory, but it actually happens in real time in companies that all of your listeners are either using, working with, and they know. If it's happening for those companies that have robust security teams, big budgets, it happens for every company out there today.
You have worn many hats: general manager, SVP, CRO, now CEO. Which roles changed you the most and which prepared you the best for leading a company?
That's a good question, to be honest. I think I'm privileged that I was born into a family business. So when people ask me what was my first job or whatever, I've been working from the day that I remember myself. So I think having this discipline, accountability, paying attention to details, making sure to know how to run numbers, and learning how is it to run a business, I think that was the biggest thing that I could ever ask. And not a lot of people have this opportunity. But then this business was sold and I was moving along the life cycle, and I was trying to see if I can work in bigger companies and to see what motivates me and what interests me. I think the sales part is always the hardest in a company because, there isn't a formula that you do 1, 2, and 3 and then you have sales coming out of it. There's a lot of, you need to read the room, you need to understand the competition, you need to build a relationship, you need to be with a thick skin because a lot of time people will say no to you. So I think that gave me a lot of stamina and thick skin to basically understand what's valid, what's not, and to dismiss what's not important and to keep on working on the things that are important. So I think definitely being a VP of sales in a big company, managing dozens of people, I think that really contributed a lot to me because I was like a CEO within my unit. So now as a CEO, I just need to deal with other units and need to start connecting all the dots. But I think being as SVP of sales, that really, really gave me a lot.
DoControl integrates with major ecosystems like Google Workspace, Slack, Microsoft 365. What were some of the toughest technical challenges in making that a reality?
Yeah, so you mentioned, I think, like 5 or 6 different companies. So 5 or 6 different companies have different APIs, they have different infrastructure, they have different set of events. And we need to normalize all of that, getting into DoControl and make sure that for the end user or for our customers, it's seamless. So whenever they log into DoControl, and if Oleg, you're doing something, we want to make sure that we know, this is the same Oleg that is using Microsoft and is the same Oleg that is using Zoom or Slack or Google Workspace or Jira or GitHub. It doesn't really matter. So taking all of those events in near real time, putting it into DoControl data warehouse and putting a lot of enrichment into it, connecting to your IDP, your Okta, or to your HRS system like a Workday, and putting more layers on top of that, that's a big challenge that a lot of other bigger companies cannot cope with today. And think about the scale that is happening in SaaS. How many events are being generated every single second from an organization that has tens of thousands of employees across multiple SaaS applications, various offices across the globe. Take all of that, digest it, react to that. That's a big challenge. And also making sure that you have data integrity. You don't miss information, you always do it on time, and you show what's out there and without gaps. And we know from some of our customers that moved from other companies to DoControl that was a big challenge in a lot of other legacy players that they were working with in the past.
Many founders are debating the right time for integrating AI into their businesses. What advice would you give to leaders trying to decide when and how to adopt AI solutions?
My background is not technical. I understand the acronyms in the technical world. I understand somehow what needs to be done, but I have a great team in Israel that supports me. Our VP of R&D, Ty, we have a VP of Product Guy. We have amazing team that is supporting me. I let them decide and do the day-to-day. But I think in general, I need to guide and to pave the way that we need to walk in. I think if it was October of last year or something, I had a meeting and I said, guys, I don't care. I don't know. Whatever we need to start focusing and putting a lot of efforts around AI. The way that I work on a day-to-day is completely different than the way I used to work a year ago. So it means that the development efforts, the product, the planning, the execution should be also different. And since then till now, we've seen dramatic changes in our company. It's funny, we are recording this today, but just today we launched the first data security AI agent called DOT. by DoControl. So basically you can talk to an agent and ask anything you want about your environment and your data, and it can speed up results without doing very tedious or complicated queries. You can do it. You can just ask a question and you'll get the results. So that's a result of a direction that we took as a company for AI. I think it's inevitable. We see it in every corner in our business. You see what's happening in search. Search volume dropped dramatically by 20% in the last few months, and we see it also from all of our stats. And everybody is shifting away to ChatGPT, AI, and those other tools. It's touching every corner within our business, and I think the more you're going to embrace it, the better you as a company are going to be in the future moving forward.
With AI becoming a bigger part of SaaS products, what are the potential ethical and privacy worries? What steps should companies take to address these concerns?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because sometimes the borders can be blurred about, okay, who has access to what are we giving, what are we asking, what are we saying? It's never going to be bulletproof. And I can assure you that many companies, including ourselves, sometimes, data is being shared in the wrong way. But as a company, you need to make sure that which tools are you using, you know which tools your employees are using, you have the right governance in place, you make sure that you are repeatedly educating your organization about what's good and what's bad and what can be done and what cannot be done. On the one hand, you don't want to stop everything completely and block everything, because then it will hurt your business enablement and it will not allow your team to run as fast as they want. I think stopping and asking you a question about, okay, what is it that we have today? What is it that we need to change? What is it that we're using? What is it that can be a problem? And for that reason as well, we have a lot of audits about what we do as a company. We have certification like SOC 2 and ISO and others. We're making sure that we follow the protocols and we're trying to minimize the risk as much as possible. For other companies, my advice is to make sure that you know your attack surface as much as possible. You know the tool set that you're using. It's all about risk management. You can't stop it all, as I mentioned earlier, but you need to give some leeway and you need to have flexibility about the tools that you're using, and making sure that you go with partners that have security as top of mind, and making sure to understand how your data is being processed, who is accessing what, and so on.
What are the most promising ways AI can boost SaaS security over the coming years?
I think it's inevitable, because if you think about it, look at the history timeline. SaaS has been here for how long? Maybe 20-something years, even less, I think, maybe 15 years. And the real adoption has started, let's say, 10 years ago or even less. So I think potential is, I don't want to say unlimited, but it's huge, because every company that was either born in the last, let's say, 10 years or so, or even older companies that are transitioning into SaaS, they don't even know how big of the risk is. There's a revolution, because now everybody are talking about IaaS, infrastructure as a service, your GCP, your Azure, your AWS, and they're trying to protect all their data there and their production. But then you have this step brother or sister, which is called SaaS, and people are taking it a little bit easy, I would say. And I think as the time moves forward, I think they are more and more concerned about what's happening in the SaaS environment. And we see the trend that is getting bigger and bigger. And a matter of fact, we see some of our clients that we talked to, or prospects that we talked to, let's say a year ago, and they said it wasn't a big priority for them, but now they're coming back to us because there is a budget line item for that. It's a project for them. They really want to understand what's happening in the environment, and I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger, like a snowball effect.
Having led large teams in previous roles and now building your own, what's your personal philosophy when it comes to hiring and nurturing talent?
So first of all, I think you have the core team that you need to bring on board. Let's say the first circle is like an onion. You need to have the first circle, and then you have another layer and another layer. I think once you build your own proprietary technology and you are able to bring more people in and get the ball rolling and start building on top of that, that's by far the most important thing, because this is the IP of your company, basically. And then what I think, potentially, if you have something which is more, let's say, repetitive, or something that doesn't require too much of investigating or building an IP, more of a routine work and so on, there is so much talent out there, so many companies that can help you achieve this speedy race and build on top of what you already built in order to increase capacity and get faster to your goal. So I think that's how I see it. It doesn't need to be everything in-house. The world is global enough to use other people's experience and teams and services in order to grow your company.
Are there specific regions or countries that you find particularly promising for tech talent?
So the world is in your fingertips today. I think talent is everywhere today. You have people in Ukraine and you have people in Colombia as well. You have people in Argentina. The world is like flat, basically, because of the communication that you have, the Zoom and the Slack, and especially now with the AIs. I don't think there are borders anymore. You can find good talent everywhere. But beyond the talent, I think one thing which is important to look for is like the availability and transparency, because you want to work with someone that can give you good understanding about what's the situation, where you're at any given moment, and not just coding for you or building products for you or doing tasks for you. You want them to be part of your team, even if they are not part of your core team.
DoControl has an in-house team, which is definitely a big decision in the tech industry. What led you to prioritize an in-house approach over outsourcing?
I think because we are doing something very revolutionary in our space. Think about it. There are much bigger companies in the security space than DoControl that claim to have some of our capabilities, but we know in a matter of fact that they don't, because of the SaaS expertise that we've developed. And I think it's not that easy to find good talent out there that can do what we do over the course of the last, 4 years and so, because we are really dealing with really big and complicated problems that forced us to stay very tight and very hands-on and very united in order to achieve what we want to. But now in the recent months, or even more than that, we started to see that we can start working with other partners across the globe, that we can delegate a task that are not necessarily needs to be done internally only. But it's an evolution. I don't think you can start right out of the batch working with team members that are not part of the core team. But once you have that, then I see no reason why not expanding that and getting a global team that can support you, even in like multiple or different time zones, because then it means that the work can be done 24/7, if you know what I mean.
Are there specific areas in your view where outsourcing makes more sense?
I think when it comes to speed, if you have the formula and you have the core built in and you just need to either replicate, duplicate, adding more stuff on top of the core that doesn't require too much hands-on and you can let go. Because, sometimes it also depends on your R&D, who runs the R&D, if he's in favor of letting go, or if he wants to keep everything close to his chest. I'm lucky to have a guy that he has no problem of doing both and is very flexible according to the tasks that we have. But I think once you have the core built in, once you have good understanding about where is it that you want to go, and if you know what is it that you can guide and what is it that you need to build with very good clarity, with not too many bumps along the way, and you want to speed up the process, that's the time to hit the trigger and let's start outsourcing as much as possible.
As we wrap up our conversation, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs aiming to bring innovative SaaS or security solutions to the market?
Startups can look and sound very sexy from the sidelines. We raised $50 million. We have those customers. We have those VCs. We have an amazing product. We have nice press releases. We have a nice booth. But they don't always understand what's happening behind the scenes, how difficult it is to get to those stages. And at the end of the day, we are building companies. We're not building nonprofit business. So every day it's a challenge. Every day is a fight to get the extra deal, to get the extra milestone. Because once you did $100,000 a month, amazing. Now you need to do 200, and now you need to do 500, and now you need to do 1 million. And how do you do that? Because once you do that, you don't even anticipate or think about the other problems that will come along the way. Because once you have established a good base of customers, now they have their own bugs or demand or feature requests. But you're at the same time with the same capacity of team, you need to build new technologies. It's a real roller coaster, but it's not suited for every person. There's personal life involved and there is business life. You need to make sure that you have balance in one of those. So I'm happy and I'm glad that I have balance in my personal life, that I can focus on my startup and without too many distractions. But it's a roller coaster. You can wake up to one day which is the most amazing day in your startup life, or the other day you can wake up which is the most horrible. Someone churned, or someone is not closing a deal, or budget were frozen. But I think you need to have a North Star, and if you believe in what you're building and you stay humble and you stay focused, I think that's the way to go. And people need to understand that it's a real roller coaster, and they need to be mentally prepared more than and physically as well.
Omri, thanks for your time. I really enjoyed our conversation. You're a very experienced person, and thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Oleg. All the best of luck, and everybody out there, stay safe.
If you enjoy our discussion and want to stay updated on the future episodes, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you will not miss out on the latest insights and conversations from the Devico Breakfast Bar. See you in the next episode.